Hey everyone, I'm Devin, back for another Board Game Co. preview, and today I'm looking at Souls of Ankiril, which is based off of the mechanics of the online collectible card game Souls of Ankiril, and this is going to be published by Tambu. I have the water and fire set, but there are 6 elements in this game, so you can also see the earth and air sets and the metal and wood sets that comprise the entirety of all 6 elements and the different ways in which you can play this game. And when you get the different sets, they will have oppositional boards here that, as you can see, split apart and connect together so that you're able to combine and fight. So as the more sets you get, you can have those board halves pair off against each other and fight. Now, this is a card game. It is a strategic card game in which you are going to be placing and fighting with these different creatures based off of the elements or the factions that you have, and then going on the board. So there's keywords, there's spells, there's character activations, and there is a on the board objective that you have to go along with. Let me give you a little bit of a breakdown. So if you can see on the board here, you've got the 2 individual halves that meet together in the middle with the rift or the anomaly that is a center point on the map, but also a little bit of a danger if you tried to hold the center board. But then each individual side has 3 emanations. Think of these as portals that you are trying to close down those of your opponent, but also they are the adjacent summoning areas for when you are loading in your own creatures and your own leader and allies. Now, your leader itself, which also eventually is going to be put onto the board, this leader is another place that you can summon adjacent to, but your portals themselves are the main ones that you can always use, no matter if the leader is in play or currently exhausted and going through the cycle process to be re-summoned. There's a lot going on here. It is a competitive strategic card game, so there's a lot of nuance, and half of it is actually not the strategy in terms of understanding the rules. It's understanding where your particular faction and their strong suits match up against the strong suits of whoever you're fighting. There are different styles. For example, if you are playing with this water faction here, this particular leader has the ability to summon these little offspring critters around it to both protect it and also clutter up the board space, which could be frustrating if you're trying to advance as the fire faction over to the water faction's Emanation Portals here. And then the fire faction itself has some of its own tricks up its sleeve. For example, your leader here has pack tactics, and in your hand you're going to have cards that will play into that and make those particular creatures incredibly strong. So every single faction fights differently, but the way in which you leverage your strengths against the weaknesses or the opposing strengths of the faction that you're going up against is kind of where you're going to find the puzzle in terms of discovering like where the joy is in Soul of Ankiril. This is a game where you're going to be using energy costs or energy spending in terms of your turn-by-turn basis. So everybody has a deck, and to be fair, there's also a deck-building version of this game. So all of these cards actually have a cost value at the top. So if you would rather not play with a base deck, you can actually build one based off of the deck-building points and cost system that are usually associated with deck building custom versus just having a set that you start off with. So you have a core deck, and you're going to be drawing from it. And in your drawing, you're going to be getting creatures, and these creatures are what you are going to be summoning. These are kind of the allies to your leader that you're going to be fielding on the board and fighting with, but you also have spells. On every single round, you're going to be starting off with a base of 3 energy, and that's going to allow you to look through your cards, summon creatures. For every summon that you do, or for every summon that you do of a creature, or for every spell, that's going to cost 1 energy. So if you want to start off the game and you've just got your leader out there and you want to really boost things up, you can summon 3 creatures, and you can get started with your leader and your allies and pushing forward towards the Emanation Portals of your opponent. and they might do the same. However, as the game continues and you do have, units out on the board, it's going to be probably more of a push and pull between deciding what other allies you want to bring into play versus what spells you want to do to boost whatever actions you're trying to accomplish on any given turn. And if you look at the board here, once you have a creature in play, anything that this creature is capable of, which includes their passive abilities and also active actions that they can do, all of that stuff is free to use on their turn. It's just a matter of whether they are going to be active or whether they are going to be inactive after you've used them. So in terms of tapping cards, which should be very familiar to people who have played a bunch of card games, that is how you're going to be acknowledging that you've already used that person. So in terms of using them, what can you do? Well, you can move, and unless you have cards or abilities that signal otherwise, you can only move one space, which, makes sense in terms of like a slow, inexorable process and advance towards these emanation portals. You can move, and if there is another creature in the way or adjacent to that afterwards, you can fight. Now, if you can see, every single unit has both a fight or a strength power and then also their health. So, in any attack, now unless some creature had an ambush keyword, for instance, which means if they outright kill something they don't get retaliated for, you would individually attribute this damage back and forth. So the water leader here actually does not have a lot of health. So if I choose to attack, the retaliation of this monster would also be doing 3 back. So both of these enemies might be losing out. Now previously, if this water leader here had summoned an offspring to this spot, this creature could fight here, which would reduce its health and maybe provide some other aspect, or combining it with cards here. For example, if I had done this empathetic bond on my turn, then I would have reinforced 2 to an ally creature, essentially giving my leader enough health to, no matter what units are there to assist, I can actually do the attack, and this 3 damage back would just reduce these 2 reinforcements, and then also leave me with, let me see if I can find it, a 2 health left instead of 0. So I would keep my leader alive, and this particular creature would be gone. Again, every single enemy, or every single unit that you bring out on the board is able to do both a movement and an attack once they're out. Now, when you summon them, they can't, which is typical for most things. In this, they have summoning sickness, and so they have to wait until their next turn. But as soon as you get past that, all of your units are able to both move and activate their abilities. And the real puzzle, again, comes down to how well you understand the keywords and the style and the abilities of your own units, and how well you recognize the, chinks in the armor or the weaknesses of your enemy that you're able to manipulate. So, for example, this creature here has an attack of 4 and a health of 4, but they also have ambush. So if you're attacking any weaker enemy that has 4 or fewer health, this creature would never get attacked back because they have ambush. They also have press, which is both a positive and a negative thing, because if you ever kill another enemy, you actually move or advance into their space, even if you've already moved to that turn. So there's a lot of things to consider. And also, once you factor in the fact that there are 2 other sets, you've got water and fire, you've got earth and air, metal and wood, you really start to see the bevy of possibilities that kind of unfold as you have 6 different elements that are competing for dominance here. So you start off, you've got your emanation portals, they've got theirs, your job is to close them down. As soon as you close down their third one, the game ends immediately and you win. And you just progress on this relatively straightforward turn-by-turn rotation between the players. You have your energy, you have a 3 base cost that you can expend per turn, summoning creatures, casting spells, and then moving the creatures that you've already summoned forward, your leader and its allies, pressing forward and leading the vanguard towards those enemy emanation portals. Yeah. That's Soul of Ankiril. This is from Tambu. Again, this is a tabletop adaptation of the online collectible card game of the same name. So if you're interested, check it out. All this regular disclaimers are along the way. This is a prototype copy, so it's not going to be its final form in terms of the components and everything else. And then we will add all of the necessary links so that you can check this game out if you want to. Thanks for stopping by, and I appreciate it, for another Board Game Co. preview. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.